Hey man, let's talk about something most men get wrong when it comes to attraction. The idea that if a woman isn't interested in you from the start, there's nothing you can do to change that. That's a lie, because interest for women isn't fixed, it's emotional, and emotions can be influenced. Most guys, when they sense disinterest, do the worst thing possible. They try harder, they chase, they over-explain, they force their way into her attention, thinking if they just show her enough love, enough effort, she'll finally notice them. But here's the truth, trying harder never makes her miss you. It only confirms that you're desperate, and desperation kills attraction instantly. If you want to make a woman miss you, even when she's not interested, you don't lean in, you pull back. You don't give her more, you give her less. And it's in that absence that the seed of missing you begins to grow. See, women don't miss what's always available. They miss what's rare, what's scarce, what feels like it could slip through their fingers if they don't pay attention. And this is where most men fail. They place themselves on a silver platter from day one. They text constantly, they compliment endlessly, they wait by the phone like their life depends on her response. And what does that do? It tells her she doesn't have to invest a single drop of effort because you've already made yourself predictable. But when you step back, when you don't chase, when you show her that her disinterest doesn't faze you, suddenly you're no longer invisible, you're intriguing. And intrigue is the first spark of missing someone. The psychology behind this is simple. People value what they can't fully have. When you're too available, too eager, too present, you rob her of the chance to wonder about you. But when you're scarce, when you move in silence, when you give her nothing to feed on, her mind starts doing the work for you. She starts replaying the little interactions you had. She starts asking herself questions she never cared about before. Why isn't he chasing me? Did I misread him? Is he talking to someone else? Did I underestimate him? And once those questions begin, you've already won, because curiosity is the root of missing someone. If you want her to miss you, you don't bombard her with your presence, you starve her of it until she craves it. Here's the brutal part. Most men don't have the discipline to pull this off, because silence feels like failure. They think, if I don't text her, she'll forget me. If I don't chase her, she'll move on. And that's the insecurity that keeps men trapped in cycles of rejection. But the opposite is true. If she's not interested and you keep chasing, she's not forgetting you, she's resenting you. She's labeling you as another guy who doesn't understand boundaries. But if you stop chasing, if you redirect your energy back into yourself, if you let her silence be met with your silence, that's when the tables turn. Because now you're no longer the man begging for her attention. You're the man she can't quite figure out. And women are obsessed with what they can't figure out. And this is where the shift happens. You're not trying to force her to like you. You're making her miss you by creating a void. She's used to men throwing themselves at her feet. And here you are, the man who doesn't. She's used to instant validation. And here you are, the man who withholds it. She's used to being chased. And here you are, the man who walks away. That contrast alone plants the seed of intrigue, and intrigue turns into curiosity, and curiosity eventually turns into missing you. Because while other men drown her in attention, you're the only one who left her space to wonder, and that wondering is what will echo in her head long after the conversation ends. The truth is, women rarely miss the man who chases. Why? Because there's no mystery, no gap, no room for her imagination to run wild. Every time you blow up her phone, every time you respond instantly, every time you shower her with compliments, you're giving her all the answers before she even had the chance to ask the questions. And women don't crave answers, they crave uncertainty. It's that uncertainty that keeps them hooked, that unpredictability that makes them obsess. That's why the men she can't get out of her head are rarely the ones who gave her everything up front. They're the ones who gave her just enough to think about and then disappeared. They leave her in silence, and that silence echoes louder than 1,000 texts ever could. You have to understand something crucial. Missing someone is not about the amount of attention they gave you. It's about the emotional space they leave behind when they pull away. And women feel that space more deeply than men. Why? Because women are wired to seek emotional stimulation. When you don't chase her, when you let her sit in silence, her brain starts searching for answers. She starts filling in the blanks herself. She imagines you busy with your life, laughing with friends, maybe even entertaining another woman. And the irony is, the more she thinks about you, the more she misses you, even if she never cared much to begin with. Because now you're not forcing your way into her thoughts, she's letting you in herself. Most men are terrified of silence because they mistake it for rejection, but silence is your greatest weapon. Silence is what makes her replay your words, your energy, your presence in her mind. Silence is what forces her to wonder why you're not chasing her like every other man does. And here's the deeper truth. Silence is respect. It's you saying, if you're not interested, I'm not forcing myself into your world. And that respect alone separates you from the sea of desperate men. Because while they're suffocating her with attention she never asked for, you're the one who gave her space. And space is where missing begins. And let's not pretend here, sometimes she won't miss you. Sometimes she'll let you walk away and never look back. But that's not a loss. That's clarity. That's the truth you needed to see. Because if she never misses you, if she never rethinks her disinterest, then she was never yours to begin with. You didn't lose anything. You revealed the reality. But if she does start to miss you, if she does start to wonder, if she does start to peek at your social media or test the waters with a casual text, that's when you know the silence worked. And at that point, the ball is in your court, not hers. You get to decide if she's worth your time, not the other way around. This is why making a woman miss you isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about self-respect. It's about refusing to beg for a place in her world. It's about walking away when she's not interested and letting the silence do what your words can't. Because here's the truth. If you respect yourself enough to walk away, she'll feel it. And whether she admits it or not, that respect will create an impact. She'll compare you to the men who begged, the men who groveled, the men who couldn't handle her rejection. And she'll realize you were different. And difference, brother, is what women remember. It's what they miss when the noise of every other man fades away. One of the reasons silence works so well is because it flips the power dynamic. When a woman senses you want her more than she wants you, she feels in control. She knows you'll keep chasing, keep waiting, keep hoping, and that knowledge kills the mystery. But when you step back, when you don't beg for her interest, when you show her you can live without her, suddenly she's the one who feels uncertain. She starts asking herself questions she never asked before. Did I misjudge him? Does he have other options? Why didn't he chase like everyone else? That uncertainty becomes the hook, because while women enjoy being pursued, what truly fascinates them is the man they can't fully figure out. And when she can't figure you out, she can't stop thinking about you. Think about the men women chase the hardest. They're never the ones who are over-invested from the start. They're the ones who remain slightly out of reach. They give just enough energy to spark interest, then they vanish back into their world. And women can't stand that gap. They replay the interactions, they overthink, they wonder what they did wrong. They obsess over filling that silence. That's why women end up missing men they were never even interested in at first, because his behavior didn't fit the pattern. He didn't feed her ego the way she expected, and that break in the script made her curious. And curiosity is the seed of missing someone, even when you didn't care about them before. But here's the discipline most men lack. You have to be willing to walk away fully. Not fake walking away, not silent treatment to manipulate her, but truly being okay with losing her. Because the only way a woman will miss you is if she believes she could lose you. And if she senses you're just pretending, if she senses you're waiting by the phone hoping she'll call, she won't miss you, she'll pity you. Real strength is when you walk away, not because you're playing a game, but because you know your worth. And when a woman feels that level of detachment, it rattles her. Because most men can't do it. Most men fold. Most men chase. The man who doesn't, that's the one she remembers. You have to understand that women are emotional creatures, and emotions thrive in imagination. When you disappear, her imagination takes over. She fills the silence with possibilities. She wonders who you're with, what you're doing, why you haven't reached out. And the more her imagination runs, the more she begins to miss you, even if she barely noticed you before. That's why silence is so powerful. It forces her to engage her own mind. It makes her create a version of you that might be even more attractive than reality. And that version will haunt her until she reaches out to see if her imagination matches the truth. You can't buy that kind of curiosity. You can only inspire it by not being available. And let me be clear, making her miss you isn't about revenge, and it's not about tricking her into loving you. It's about showing her, through your actions, that you are not another man begging for scraps of her attention. It's about proving that your time, your presence, your energy have value. And women can sense that value the moment you stop handing it away freely. They start to realize that what they dismissed might actually be rare. And rarity, brother, is what creates missing. Because no matter how uninterested she was at first, the moment she realizes you won't give yourself away like every other man, she feels something she didn't expect loss. And it's that sense of loss that makes her miss you. Here's what most men don't realize. The woman who says she's not interested isn't always telling the truth of her heart. She's telling the truth of her feelings in that moment, and feelings change. A woman can ignore you today and dream about you tomorrow if something flips inside her. And the thing that flips it isn't you begging harder, it isn't you explaining your worth, it's you pulling back completely, it's you not even acknowledging her existence. That contrast between her expectation and your reality creates the spark. Because she thought she had you figured out. She thought she could put you in the box of just another guy who wants me. And when you refuse to fit in that box, she's forced to reassess you. That reassessment is the beginning of missing you. You've got to understand, missing someone isn't always about love, it's about absence. People don't miss what's constantly in front of them, they miss what's taken away. That's why women rarely miss the man who was always texting, always calling, always chasing. He never gave her a chance to feel his absence, but the man who knows when to step back, the man who leaves a gap, that's the man she starts to notice when the silence hits. Because the mind fills in empty space with desire, and the heart begins to ache for what it doesn't have. That's the paradox. To make a woman miss you, you can't give her more of yourself. You have to give her less. Now, let's get brutally honest. If you try to make a woman miss you while secretly obsessing over her, it won't work. Energy doesn't lie. She'll feel the desperation in your silence. She'll sense the fake detachment. That's why the foundation has to be real. You must build a life so full, so rich, so focused on your mission that she is not your priority. She has to feel that you would be the same man with or without her. That kind of strength makes a woman's mind race, because women are used to being the center of a man's universe. But when she realizes she isn't the center of yours, she feels something foreign, longing. And longing is the root of missing. Think about it this way. A woman will never miss the man who kneels at her feet, but she will always miss the man who makes her rise to meet him. If you're always available, always giving, always proving, she never has to climb, she never has to invest, she never has to chase. And without effort, there is no attachment. But the man who makes her wonder, the man who creates gaps, the man who gives space for her to invest, he becomes unforgettable. She might not even understand why, but she'll replay his absence in her mind until it becomes presence. That's the game, brother, not being where she expects you to be. And here's the real beauty of it. When you learn to make women miss you, you also learn how to master yourself. Because this skill isn't about manipulation, it's about control. Control over your need for validation. Control over your urge to chase. Control over the fear of losing someone who was never truly yours. Once you master that, you stop being the man who begs to be chosen, and you become the man who chooses. And in that moment, every woman who ever overlooked you begins to feel it. The weight of your silence, the gravity of your absence, and whether she admits it or not, she'll miss you, even if she wasn't interested at first. Because, deep down, every woman misses the man who could walk away and never look back. The truth is, most men want shortcuts with women. They ask, what's the one line I can say? What's the one trick I can do? But women don't miss men because of tricks. They miss men because of impact. And impact is created by the man's presence, his energy, and then the sudden absence of that energy. When a man with no depth disappears, a woman shrugs. But when a man with standards, confidence, and control disappears, she feels it like a void. That's why you must build yourself first. Work on your body, your money, your craft, your purpose, because the stronger you are, the more she will notice when you're gone. Understand this. Women are emotional creatures who live in cycles of highs and lows. If you give her constant attention, she gets used to it, and it flattens out into boredom. But when you disrupt that cycle, when you leave, when you stop showing up, when you disappear into your own world, you create contrast. That contrast makes her feel, and in her world, feeling is everything. She won't miss your words. She won't miss your gifts. She won't miss your attention. She will miss the feeling you gave her, the mystery, the absence, the uncertainty. That's the emotion that gnaws at her, and that's why she'll crave you again. But here's the catch. If you only disappear as a tactic, it won't work. She'll sense the act. The real way to make a woman miss you is to genuinely not care whether she does or not. That's the paradox most men can't accept. The less you try to control her emotions, the more she feels them. The less you seek her attention, the more she gives it. This isn't about punishing her, it's about freeing yourself. Because once you realize your value doesn't come from whether a woman texts you back or not, you've already won. And it's that victory, the quiet, unshakable confidence that makes her miss you more than anything else. Think of the men women obsess over. It's rarely the ones who are always available. It's the ones who disappeared, who chose themselves, who made her feel like she was chasing a shadow. Because the mind cannot stop chasing unfinished stories. And when you pull back, when you stop feeding her attention, you become an unfinished story in her life. She will replay the moments. She will ask herself why you stopped. She will wonder if she was the problem. And that cycle of wondering will eat at her. That's when missing you becomes unavoidable. So the next time you feel like chasing a woman who isn't interested, stop, breathe. Remember this, the strongest position a man can be in is indifference. Not fake indifference, but the real kind, the kind that comes from knowing you don't need her validation to define your worth. Live your life so deeply that her absence doesn't sting. Build yourself so powerfully that her silence feels like nothing, and watch what happens. Because when she sees you thriving without her, when she feels the weight of your absence, when she realizes you've left her behind, that's when she'll miss you. That's when she'll finally feel what you wanted her to feel all along.